Hello and welcome, I'm CZ Lumen and this is StarCraft 2. I found this replay on the Reddit forums. Somebody was basically having a bad day and I wanted to cast it and see what was going on. One of the players here was a little bit sour about the balance of the game. So we're going to see what exactly happens. We have DrBunhead in the bottom left hand corner playing as the Zerg versus the upper right hand corner. I'm not even sure how I should say this, but they are playing as the Protoss pieces, and this is adaśtopedał. I mean, well, adast. I'm just going to call them adast for now, or it's just the probe units. So far, we have a pretty an early opener on the Zerg on creating a second hatchery before the probe can actually make it to the other side, and this is ancient. The ancient map, which is like a pretty large map. So there's like good travel time. The probe was sent out pretty early to scout and possibly deny this hatchery. And it looks like the Zerg just wasn't having any of it. Putting down a hatchery first and then the spawning pool. So Zerglings are going to be delayed just a little bit. Not going to be enough for the Protoss to really take advantage of it. Both sides are going to be expanding and building up their economy as much as possible. Protoss going into double gas. Zerg only going with a single with a 2 base. So we're going to have a mineral heavy setup for the Zerg with a more balanced economy by the Protoss. Building up, by the way, Protoss building up in their natural. I looked at who won this game, but I actually just now forgot I was going to say. So, but yeah, the Reddit post caught my eye. I wanted to see how these two players handled the game, and what goes on. So far nothing too crazy. No harassments or fast attacks or anything like that. We got the Zerg building up the evolutionary chamber. It's pretty chill. Pretty chill. In fact, let's see. Both of their spending is pretty good too. Neither one of them is building up a whole lot of resources. Let's see. The Queen is injecting just fine. It doesn't look like anybody's supply blocked. Well, actually, Zerg is supply blocked, so that's probably why it took him a moment to build those Zergling or the drones. No Zerglings out yet. Protoss is also holding off on doing anything too extreme. We have an Adept coming out for the Protoss, being scouted by the Zerg, and an Overlord just derping on overhead, just chilling, seeing what information you can get. And in fact, this is what the Zerg is looking at right now. Their base, putting down a creep tumor. Nothing too crazy. Protoss kind of doing the same thing. No creep tumors for the Protoss, so that would be some broken tech right there. Can you imagine if pylons were a defensive unit in some way? Like, instead of having Protoss cannons, so we have the Zerg that have, oh, here we go. We have an Adept that's coming in for a scout. Doesn't look like he's going to live long enough to really do a whole lot of exploration, but what did he see? Not much. Not much at all. Didn't really get much out of that, aside from the lack of gas in the second base. So Zerglings running in for an exploratory counterattack here, and is probably gonna is the Zerg gonna spot this third base that's coming down on the Protoss? Both sides building their bases at about the same time, so Zerg is a little behind on trying to have that base expansion advantage. Misses. Zerg misses the actual base. The Adept almost giving it away, but no. It's still going to stay a secret. Zerglings can go and explore to check that out, but nope, they're just going to chill out in the front base or front of the base and relax as Oracles head on down to the Zerg base and do their own harassment. How many drones did he get? 6 kills on the Oracle. Does not get out alive. But hey, I mean, 6 kills. It's not too bad. How many drones? So we have Yeah, 6 drones go down on the Zerg side. But Protoss is in the lead on units lost. That does not help. Income advantage for the Protoss on both gas and minerals. 37 probes versus 35 drones. So Protoss is having that economic advantage where they can trade poorly if need be, but Zerglings, a small group of Zerglings. What is a group of Zerglings called, I wonder? Like a swarm? It's like we have a Zerg rush. I know when you have a Karen, two Karens together is called a complaint, and a group of Karens is called a multi-level marketing scheme. Here we go. Zerglings attack the third base, doing very little damage. Just a little bit, like pecking on the shields. Might get the Adept. Nah, do not get the Adept. Try to check out the front of the natural expansion, realizing that there's no way in. Loses a drone Zergling for free. Zerg is doing okay. Kind of scouting this out. Protoss has a Twilight Council down. I wonder if they have the tech researched for Blink yet. I don't know if that actually comes down here at Weapons and Armor. But anyway, we have 2 Oracles coming down to say hello to the drones down here working, minding their own business. And straight into the base. Drones turning into spore crawlers to not die from the oracles. Nothing. I don't know if you'd really count that as a loss of resources, but they needed spore crawlers anyway. So now with 4 of them, that's good defensive posturing. Oh, it looks like he went to build one out here too. Hydralisk coming up for a Hydralisk den with evolution chambers, Hydralisk and lurkers. So we got Hydra lurker combo. Doesn't seem to be investing a whole lot into Zerglings or anything else. What evolutions are you researching? Just +1 attack melee. So that's not... Doesn't help with the ranged combat, but hey, more power to you. Shield batteries, well set up for the Protoss. Protoss is playing pretty economically to just hunker down and build up. Although... Army-wise, Protoss has a larger army, 43 to 26. Equal economy, 58 workers for both sides. It's actually... So this is something I always think is wild when it comes to StarCraft, is watching when... You know when you see those big armies fight and their supply is about the same? Like their army supply will be like 60 versus 60. And then you see these like massive one-sided gains or another, and the fight continues on. And you look at the army supply, and it just, they somehow balance out, especially with the top tier players. I think it's always fascinating to watch that. You'll see like just how well balanced this game is in a fight, and like both army supplies like end at the same amount. Like they just stay so neck and neck, and I have no idea how that happens. But we have a stalker attack to the third base of the Zerg, getting pushed into a corner by Queens. Nothing else really to defend this with. Queens are holding their ground against the Stalkers, but it is not enough. Stalkers taking out the Queens one by one, followed up by Hydralisk, but it is not going to be enough. That hatchery, if Protoss wants to bring it down, will go down. Fails to, or decides not to, gets surrounded by Zerglings. I didn't even see those Zerglings. Those Zerglings like came out of nowhere and wiped the floor with that Protoss army. Well done. That was good thinking by the Zerg to defend that and react accordingly. And now Protoss Stalkers are running away toward reinforcements on their third base, getting regenerated by those shield batteries. More shield batteries are probably going to be needed here in just a little bit, as the Zerg doesn't have any kind of lead, actually. They pull back their forces back to their base just to defend. Both sides building up a fourth base. Good saturation on all mineral lines here, it looks like, with an almost equal worker count. Protoss building up to 68 workers. Zerg falling just shy behind with 67. And these are close numbers. So economy-wise, they're doing about the same. They have about the same income, it looks like. Uh, actually, with you can actually see right here if you're paying attention, Zerg is averaging around 2,500 per minute, whereas Protoss is anywhere from, it looks like 24, slightly shy. So I'm guessing we got 16, 8, 14. So the saturation levels, the way the saturation levels are going to work is you're going to have basically diminishing returns on how many probes or how many workers that you have on the mineral patches. So you do get more, like you can oversaturate and get more because you can see like right here, there's a little bit of delay before the mineral patch gets patched up again. But if you have more bases and your probes are spread out, like you're going to have a higher income than if you were to have all those probes full saturation on each base. So that's pretty much how that works. How Zerg right now especially can have fewer workers but a higher income. And looking at it right now, Protoss has taken the lead, 69 nice to 73 workers. Protoss Stalkers coming in to cancel the 5th base. 6? Is that the 6th Zerg base? Well, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6 bases. Both the 5th and the 6th base getting denied by No, never mind. 5th base here, bottom on the bottom center, gets defended by a group of Zerglings against a run-by with Zealots. Zerg attacking on the north side with the left hook. Lurkers, Hydralisks, Zerglings. Zerglings are currently in stasis from a Oracle trap. Doing a good job holding their own against Stalkers and Zealots. Looks like a pretty close fight, but Zerg is going to lose this. As reinforcements come in, defended by shield battery energy is depleted. Whole Zerg army goes down. However, when we look at the army supply, 41 for the Protoss, 46 for the Zerg. Reinforcements on the way, Zerglings and Hydralisks, although they are coming in groups at a time, which is not helpful. This is basically streaming in only to get isolated and killed one at a time, losing their ability to really saturate their opponent, especially since they have to run in with melee weapons. So Protoss walks away happy with that fight, except, no, actually, I'm going to pause it here for just a second here. Protoss is actually losing the efficiency game here. If you're just listening, Protoss is at 9,000 minerals lost versus 8,000 minerals for the Zerg. 2,800 gas loss for the Protoss. 1,200 for the Zerg. The Zerg is playing very efficiently here. Zerg is doing a hell of a job holding his own. This is fantastic. Normally you see the Zerg having higher losses, but like just expanding in order to have like that economy in order to overcompensate for that. And in this case, Protoss is getting bled dry. And if Zerg is able to maintain this, we're going to see mineral patches on the right side basically start to evaporate and get eaten up by those losses, whereas Zerg is going to continue to still have an economy, or at least resources to burn. Although currently, what is the holdup here actually? Protoss has 2,300 in the bank, not spending it. Oh, that's just gas. Never mind. Both are spending their minerals pretty well. Not sure if this is going to transition or not. Something. Whoa! What just happened? Something just happened because Zerg is now catching up, loss-wise, minerals with the Protoss. I want to go back on that. What happened? Okay, a little bit more. Okay, we're at 9,000 total loss for the Zerg. I'm going to slow it down here. I really want to see this. So we have this little fight here that's going on. Zerglings basically doing more of a distraction attack to try to get the Protoss to pay attention to the northern side where the army is. South, we have, here we go. This is so we have the loss of the northern army that was heavily reinforced by the Protoss. in the north. So those are some pretty bad losses. And then we have the south here, Hydralisk coming in. And basically evening up the playing field in terms of resources loss. And this is what I'm talking about. Like just how even Zerg had this like advantage of the loss comparison. And now Protoss is catching up, just playing better. Just by a few mistakes too. It's pretty wild to see that. Lurkers picking up and moving over to defend the fifth or the bottom center base, fourth is Zerg. Actually, no, they're going. Where are they going at? They're going to harass these zealots that are hiding out. Let's see how many they can take out. Probably should have just set up the lurkers to let the zealots run in. That was just a little too late for the lurkers to be able to take advantage of these isolated zealots that were doing really nothing at all. And it might have just reminded the Protoss, hey, I had units down here. So lurkers hunkering down in the ground next to one of the bases for the Protoss, knocking out some of the army. That's building up a little bit better. No real, like, we have 1-1 armor and weapons for the Protoss. Zerg, on the other hand, has 3-2 melee and ranged upgrades. But now we're seeing oracles like take down lurkers. We need some Hydralisks down here. Good spending on both of them, although both sides are having some in the bank. Just a little bit of minerals. Almost equal army once again. 54 for the Zerg, 57, 51. There was a massive loss that just happened here for the Protoss. Here we go. I totally spaced on that one. Good. I'm guessing a good trap by the Zerg side. Yep. Zerg is pulling up ahead, being more efficient with the loss of resources. Are these banglings? Yeah, banglings are coming up. All right. Protoss is building a pretty diverse army. If we look at like the army value, we have 3,800, 23 for the gas for the Protoss, and then for Zerg we have 44, just popped up to 44, and almost 2,000 gas for the army value. What units do we have going on here? Good mix, both sides. Ultralisks are being fielded, lurkers and Hydralisks getting stormed. Not what you want as the Zerg fighting on the defense. Protoss is fighting on the defenses with this base with an overcharged shield battery. Storms landing on groups of Zerg, just melting them. This was not what you want as a Zerg player. But if we look at the what kind of setback did that just have? I love that little Hydralisk right there. It's just poking at the two stalkers. It's like, no, I'm not going down without a fight. Oh, we got a changeling right here. That's being a little spy. 60 workers versus 78 for the Zerg. Zerg is having a better time with the economy and properly defended their lower base down here. It looks like there was probably a zealot run by. New army being fielded by the Zerg. Zerg having a better time having resources in the bank compared to the Protoss. Protoss is running slowly on empty on the minerals. So this is going to give Protoss problems if the efficiency keeps up, but also the economic advantage. The Zerg, they can do these fights. If you have more bases, if you're out mining your opponent, if your economy is better, they need to take that out of the... Yep, there we go. Shield batteries are gone. Base goes down for the Protoss. Denied mineral mining time for this base. Great work by the Zerg to knock that out and continue to have a well-saturated economy. Down here, losing a little bit of efficiency, can take 6 or so from there and move it around. But of course, like, easy for me to say, this person here is working as hard as they can in order to micromanage as much as possible. Queens and the whole army defending against a zealot run by on the north side of the Zerg, successfully doing so. Zealots running away as soon as they see that. Probably so, and none of them survive. Probably the best thing you could have done there as Protoss is basically just like, oh, these guys are dead, and just try to take down a queen or something, like anything, because that was in favor of the Zerg right there. Zerg League run by on the top of the Protoss base. couple of researching facilities being taken out by the Zerg, more Zerglings coming in, knocking out a little bit more of the economy. Those isolated buildings go down. Archons are on the field, 4 of them with stalkers. That's a scary sight. These things are not small. I mean, like, these things are huge. Just imagine being an Archon, just being a giant on the battlefield. You're larger than a star. I don't know what the lore is in terms of like how big they are in comparison with everything else, but these I would not want to be facing off against an Archon. Zoom out here. Storms just nailing the mass of the Zerg army. I don't even what wow, we have just a huge fight going on in the south right here for against the Protoss. Ultralisks, Lurkers, Hydralisks, Zerglings all came in, knocking out more workers. And this is smart. Even though the Zerg had just lost all of that, Protoss is now down to 37 workers against Zerg's 80. Just a solid 80. Losses are evened up about now. We have a 31,000 loss for the Protoss versus 30, but Zerg is out producing or are out mining the Protoss almost by double. Triple Protoss's gas, double 150% or 250% versus Protoss. So even right now, we have a Protoss that's just like standing next to a nearly fully saturated base by the Zerg. Protoss needs to knock out both of these bases in order to even up the playing field and continue to pump out workers. I don't know if he's pumping out workers, but this is not good for the Protoss. Protoss needs to knock down these bases here. One base goes down. Second base is not going down. Split forces by the Protoss in order to try to knock down 2 bases at once. Knock down 1. And now this army is going to get slaughtered. Lurkers are coming in. No storms available. I don't see any Templar. Stalkers are able to get away. Void Ray does go down. Again, with actual engagements, this is interesting. So anytime there's an engagement between the Zerg and the Protoss in this game, I've noticed we see Protoss having far higher losses against the Zerg, resource-wise. But the Zerg player has also been throwing in armies to their death to knock out the Protoss economy. And that's when it evens out again. So this constant attack the army, attack the economy, attack the army, attack the economy, this is phenomenal. You can do your best, but you anyways can't win versus what? Race. What? What just happened? What is this? I don't know. I can do this. Let's see. So, Protoss, you can do your best, but you anyway can't win versus this IMBA race. I'm guessing English might not be this person's first language. Typo. So I'm guessing the story behind Protoss here is, and they didn't really do that bad as Protoss. Zerg, on the other hand, did a great job expanding, macroing, microing, improving or building up upgrades. There was a lot going on with the Zerg player doing a great creep spread is doing well. 20-minute mark, probably could have done better with the creep spread, but their attention was just so thin the entire time. There were multiple attacks on both the upper side and lower side of the map. Both players were doing a pretty good job keeping each other on each other's toes, but the Zerg just definitely outplayed the Protoss player here. Now, according to the Reddit posts, Protoss player was quite a bit sour about this, and they had a private chat afterwards, mostly raging. I can only imagine this Protoss player's frustration going against this Zerg, because this Zerg player just did, again, phenomenal job, one after, like, time and time again, both attacking the economy, knocking out the army, attacking the economy, knocking out the army, and the Protoss player just probably felt like he was playing whack-a-mole, and then not being able to hold on to a base long enough to really mine it out. Although did a good job like actually mining them out, but never built back their economy at, I want to say, about the halfway point for the Protoss. Just stopped building probes, and that might have been because they didn't feel like they could hold on to those probes long enough to like saturate a base. But anyway, good game, fun to watch. Nicely done, DrBunhead, on this fight. This was just great buildup of forces and management overall. I love this.